Okay, so last night, as I was preparing for the sermon, I watched Robin Littlewing Psycho's sermon from last Sunday, and I have to say that so much of what she said resonated and was very helpful to me. So those of you in the congregation who know Robin, please pass my thanks on to her for that amazing message she shared with us. I loved many of the things what she said, but today I want to reinforce one of the things that Robin talked about. She gave us a warning about cultures that hold within their creation story both banishment from Eden and the assumption that we are to hold dominion over the plants, animals, and the very fabric of this creation. And I wanted to start Earth Day by applauding her gentle tweaking. She points instead to the creation story of Sky Woman, where Sky Woman, through the giving of her body, creates a garden and a greening for the well-being of all, including us two-legged ones. I believe that as children of Adam and Eve, we will not be able to make the shift needed to save our planet, our collective life, without the wisdom and spiritual clarity of our indigenous neighbours. So, on that note, I want us to go into our call to worship, which is going to be a little bit different today. It's a video. I invite us to read the words that are displayed on the screen with the video, and for us to meet God afresh, and not just build on that Adam and Eve story, but have God that is expressed in as many stories and faces as there are people. So here we are with our call to worship, and I invite you to say the words as they appear on the screen. Friends, these are interesting times, dangerous times. and times where that waking up is very, very present. Nobody will say that 2021 was a boring year.
I want to tell you that the world is still beautiful. I tell you that despite children raped on city streets, shot down in schoolrooms, despite the slow poison seeping from old and hidden sins into our air, soil, water, despite the thinning film that encloses our aching world, despite my own terror and despair, I want you to look again and again, to recognize the tender grasses curled like a baby's fine hairs around your fingers as a recurring miracle, to see that the river rocks shine like God, that the crisp voices of the orange and gold October leaves are laughing at death. I want you to look beneath the grass, to note the fragile hieroglyphs of ant, snail, beetle. I want you to understand that you are no more and no less necessary than the brown recluse, the ruby-throated hummingbird, the humpback whale, the profligate mimosa. I want to say, like Neruda, that I'm waiting for a great and common tenderness, that I still believe we're capable of attention, that anyone who notices the world must want to save it.
Thank you. In preparation for today, I found an amazing video by Tara Brach. She has a YouTube channel. She's a Buddhist teacher. If you haven't come across Tara Brach, I'm going to show a video which is a long excerpt, a 6.5 minute excerpt from her live stream on YouTube that she offered on Wednesday. Every Wednesday she shares a reflection. There's always a meditation in it. It's not just knowledge. But I realized I could not say this truth better. And I wanted you all to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So here is a wee video of Tara Brach for her Earth Day reflection.
So here we are. We belong to this web of life. Nature's not out there. We are nature. And when we forget that belonging, to me, that's kind of the real meaning of leaving the garden, leaving Eden, when we forget that belonging. And not only do we suffer, we become sick animals in certain ways, but out of that severed belonging, we cause harm to the web. And this is what we've been seeing is happening, that through these centuries, especially in recent years, the human race has not only forgotten, but it's caused massive damage. We know that this larger body we belong to, this web of life, it's struggling, it's sick, it's in dis-ease. You know, our air, water is increasingly toxic. As most are aware, we're in what scientists call the sixth extinction, which is predicted to be the most devastating event since the asteroid impacted and wiped out large dinosaurs. And it's hard to fathom. I mean, really, it's really hard to fathom the truth of that we're in the sixth extinction, and what that really means. I mean, we know that, or we hear that dozens of species are going extinct every day. But can we let that in? I mean, extinct means never to appear again in that particular unique form, ever. We know that as many as 30 to 50% of all species are going to be extinct by 2050. There's a short verse from Rumi that's so powerful. Sit, be still, and listen. For you are drunk, and we are at the edge of the roof. Isn't that amazing? Sit, be still, and listen, for you are drunk, and we are at the edge of the roof. It's never enough. When we're disconnected from the garden, when we don't feel a sense of that fundamental belonging, we humans have this fear-based restlessness. It makes us insatiable. The sense that there's something more. It's not enough. I'm going to miss out. I need something. And you can see it through the centuries, the drive for more land, more conquest, more productivity, more growth. So we know that our greed is depleting Earth's resources, just ruining planetary health. Yet the assumption is we need to keep growing. And this is liberals and conservatives alike, that the value of growing our economic productivity and our consumption. Why? Is bigger better? To keep growing, we need to keep fueling that need. There we got the billions of dollars of advertisement of never enough. So this is the first way. When we've left the garden, we get caught in the delusion and the energy of wanting, greed, something's missing. The second big energy, and it's also based on delusion, is aggression, violent domination. And this happens too when we leave the garden, when we don't feel connected, that the other becomes an object, something to control, to dominate, to aggress against. This is from Genesis. And God blessed them. God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Subdue it. So Homo sapiens emerged to consider the earth, those and other people of difference, and non-human animals as other, and that it's okay to aggress against them. And this is a deeply embedded part of our historic narrative. It's often referred to as manifest destiny. And the first formal evidence was papal decrees in the 13th and 14th century that basically said, that gave us the entitlement to vanquish and destroy that which was indigenous. And I say us because it assumes the rights of settlers, typically white Europeans. So this is my identity. It assumes the rights of settlers to take wealth to make more for the empire. So humans spread around the globe, decimating indigenous populations, driving most large mammals to extinction, and decimating the land. So this is that force of you have the right to aggress and dominate. And it's important to know that the same hierarchy and privilege is the one that allows for the daily domination of non-dominant people within a culture. In other words, you can't separate the violations of a racial caste system from the violations of indigenous people and the earth. And the same delusion, means that to satisfy human appetites, we cause inconceivable suffering to billions of animals each year, through our industrial farming. And it's also a huge contribution to global warming. So this is the second great force, aggression, violent domination, from whether it's the papal declarations to our individual psyches to current global business. There's an ongoing attitude towards the natural world. It's a utilitarian relationship, anthropocentric attitude that it's ours for the taking. The earth is an object. We can do what we want.
These are the words of Adrienne Rich. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Albert Einstein reminds us that the answers to our problems are not found at the same level of consciousness and thinking that created the problems in the first place. And I personally believe that all of us hold within us a piece of the solution to this environmental catastrophe. And there's a paradox here, because none of us have the solution, but we all contribute to the solution. It's so multifaceted and delicately interwoven, almost like the lace on a dragonfly's wings. It's a human-made but God-sized problem. A problem in which every human can make or break the environment. It's a perfect storm, forcing us to learn to live together for the welfare of all, or to die slowly together. And I think we're actually too selfish to have changed without being forced to. We're like the Romans who loved their plumbing, and they had this amazing plumbing, but it was joined together with lead. And they were slowly making their world toxic. They were slowly dismantling their intrinsic health and well-being. Dear God, please help us. We are drunk and perched on the roof of the house. Dear God, help us. Now, Tara said in her video, nature is not out there. We are nature. When we forget our belonging, we cause harm to the web. I absolutely, wholeheartedly, 100% endorse this. So let's start by waking up to our true nature, our interconnectedness with all of matter, and the fact that we co-create with this cosmos. And let's jump to Psalm 8 to really reinforce this. This is a modern setting of Psalm 8 by Christine Robinson. Many named one, beyond imagining, when I contemplate the night sky, the cosmos, which all unfolded from a speck, galaxies, stars, this beautiful earth. Who are we humans that you attend to us? Mere mortals in our tiny corner, and you love us? We are life come to knowing and feeling. The whole world is in our hands. Plants and animals, oceans and ice caps, rainforests, atmosphere and ecosystem. Touch our hearts, O God. Make us worthy of this trust. Help us care for life on this beautiful earth. Can we take that ancient wisdom in? Can we revolutionize our thinking to know that we are this earth? We have come into consciousness and human suits, and we are the earth. Later on in this video, which I've linked in the chat, I'm sorry I forgot to do that earlier, Tara Brach says, we are this earth in human form. Our consciousness is the consciousness of the earth. This is our collective belonging. She goes on to say, without being awake in our bodies, we cannot feel how our bodies belong to this earth. And we can't feel a sense of love and connection if we don't do this. And she urges us to connect with our earthling bodies. I love that turn of phrase, our earthling bodies. Listening deeply to your body will connect you back to the earth. And she goes on to have a little meditation on that, which is beautiful. Friends, can we start to see and experience the world differently? Shift our awareness like our seafaring ancestors who finally grasped that the earth was not flat. I mean, after all, where would all the water go? We are this earth in human form. Our consciousness is the consciousness of the earth. This is our collective belonging. Now the name Eve means living or breathing, and Adam means earth or clay. Adam and Eve, the living earth. I believe that one of the solutions for our environmental predicament is the spiritual teaching of belonging, that we co-create Eden here on earth. And this has everything to do with compassion and social justice and listening to the silent language of this living earth. And I hold so much respect for Indigenous wisdom for many reasons. It's the spiritual food that nourished me most at seminary. And one of the things it really teaches is about belonging. We had a teacher called Generous Bear. I've got his CD here. That's him. Frank, wonderful man. And he would say over and over, we all have the same mother. Whether you've arrived here recently or your family has always been here, we all have the same mother. Now, Generous Bear was so different than all the other teachers who came to teach us at seminary. I remember he went round the room and shook hands and touched every single one of us, and left a tobacco and an arrowhead necklace there was more than 100 of us. He embodied the generosity of the harvest and an interconnectedness that I had never encountered before, and I cried. I kind of bubbled up. Now, luckily, I've got to meet him a few more times since then, because the first time I met him, I wasn't able to say anything. He's such a good teacher. He lives in Manhattan. He doesn't live on the Olympic Peninsula. He lives in a concrete jungle. And he talks about how Mother is right there. The stars are right there, sparkling in the buildings. My question for us is, how do we connect with this living earth, be in relationship with the natural world, and care for all our relations? And I really think a paradigm shift can start with our spiritual work around belonging and looking again at the Sky Woman and the Adam and Eve banishment stories is really important there. Now, it's just been Easter, and we've been talking about, behold, I make all new things new, and the healing and the resurrection that is birthed afresh. That's why we sang Morning Has Broken. I actually believe there are many, many solutions, and there are many people already working towards the healing and the reparation of this earth. It doesn't mean that the danger is not still there. But I want us to shift our experience and understanding so that we can act within and respond to our grief, not as outsiders, that this is a problem that we are doing to the earth, but we are the earth. As a more empowered, but it also has a lot more responsibility, that way of seeing. And I want to say really clearly, Mother Nature is not a fragile virgin wearing a white nightie. That concept of this earth, like the other concept of God, male God on a cloud, have to go. They're not big enough. They're not helpful. They're not helping us. More on that in the coming weeks. I'm going to talk about earth-based wisdom and praying with the earth a lot over the coming weeks. But my last teaching point for us today is, you're not here by mistake. These times are far too dangerous for the Creator to mess around. Yes, we are all contributing to the problem, but we're all contributing to the change, and we have the capacity to contribute to the healing and the new solutions. And part of the aspect of Christianity that is most on fire for me right now, the reason that I chose that call to worship that was so fiery and wild, is that in our Christian story we have Mother Mary birthing her compassion, caring about the oppressed, She's birthing her light in us again and again, and she joins with the cosmos, the mother of the universe. In the Abbey on Iona, the symbolism that we had, the statue of her, was a womb with the stars in it and the dove coming down. Mother Mary joins with that force that births this cosmos. And through her body, through her compassion, through her mothering, she can connect us with all of creation. And we need this prayer and this wisdom right now. We need to find our right place in the web and step into it very fully. And luckily, the youth and our Indigenous elders are already leading the way. They're really leading the way, and we just need to get on that school bus with them. A friend of mine wrote a great song about this. It's called You Belong. He wrote it for children. He was teaching. He's a Buddhist chaplain, interfaith chaplain, but he was working, doing environmental work and social justice work with teens, young teens. And he wrote this song for them. It's called You Belong. And I'd love to share it with you now. It's pretty simple. You'll be able to pick it up. You belong to this body, you belong to the earth. You belong, you belong, you belong. With all of your dignity, all of your worth. You belong, you belong, you belong. You belong to this family, to this tree of life. You belong, you belong, you belong. There's nothing no one can do to untie these ties. You belong, you belong, you belong. And you're not the worst thing that you've ever done. You're not the ways you think you might be bothering someone. You're not better than, less than or equal. People are people. We belong to these bodies, we belong to this earth. We belong, we belong, we belong. With all of our dignity, all of our worth. We belong, we belong, we belong. I belong to this body, I belong to this earth. I belong, I belong, I belong. With all of my dignity, all of my worth. I belong, I belong, I belong. Thank you, Adam, for writing that song. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank God for the next generation. Adam's quite a bit younger than me. Behold, I make all things new. This was one of the words that we would sing in the Abbey over and over. Behold, I make all things new. If we really believe this, then God is birthing a new, fresh, healing, new life for us. In the midst of oppression and death and sickness and devastation, we are not alone in this. And we have access to so much wisdom from the different spiritual traditions to help us. I mean, Judaism has so much richness around how to overcome oppression, how to make space for everybody at the table. I'm going to weave in a little bit of Rumi here. The breezes at dawn have secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds meet. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. This living planet is breathing and talking. Let's start listening. Got a good way. A closing blessing written by my friend Christine to close this Earth Day sermon. Enjoy.
May our eyes be open to the Word of God scribed on every leaf and petal, on every wing and paw. As the seasons unfold in their vibrant dance of change, May we hear the call from their pages to blossom forth, to bear fruit, to surrender and yield, to rest into mystery. Let the journey of caterpillar to moth teach you the path of transformation. Let the patience of mountains and singing of stones give guidance for what it means to endure. Let the rise and fall of the sun and moon circling the blue tiled sky teach you about journeys to fullness and to rest and release. May holy wisdom be revealed in each season, reading grace at every turn.
I'd like to reinforce this in song. Actually, just saw in the comments Betsy asking if I can share the video. I'm not able to put it up publicly, but I have a website that I've made for the church, simondevoyle.com/Suquamish. I will post it there because that's a private link, and we'll make sure that that goes out in the weekly notes. So I'll have a link to the 48-minute reflection by Tara Brach, and also that beautiful blessing. Yeah, thanks for asking for that. I want us to sing one more song. Singing is a way that we really join our prayers with the intention that we are discussing and thinking about. And here's a wee song that you don't need any lyrics for, because you all know it. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.